began on a rainy Thursday morning in Atlanta. Lorraine Baxter was brushing her granddaughter's hair when the phone rang. The number was from Piedmont Hospital. Her heart clenched. Her brother, Gregory Davis, had been admitted there 2 weeks prior for complications from a long battle with congestive heart failure. The voice on the line was somber, clinical. "We're sorry to inform you that Mr. Gregory Davis passed away this morning at 4:27 a.m. Lorraine dropped the brush. Her hands trembled. Her knees buckled. Gregory was more than a brother. He was her last living sibling. She sank to the floor, her sobs echoing through the house, unaware that the nightmare had only just begun. Lorraine arrived at the hospital with her daughter the next day to identify the body. Wrapped in a blue sheet, Gregory's face was pale but unmistakable. They cried, signed documents, and began making arrangements for cremation, as Gregory had requested. The hospital provided a death certificate, clear and official. Gregory Lamont Davis, deceased, April 12, 4:27 a.m., Atlanta, Georgia. It was done. At least they thought it was. 3 days later, the phone rang again. It was a hospital in Chicago, St. Vincent's. "Is this the family of Gregory Davis?" Lorraine, weary with grief, confirmed. "We regret to inform you, Gregory Davis passed away this morning at 6:42 a.m. Lorraine froze. She blinked, thinking it must be a mistake. "He died." "Again?" she whispered. The nurse, confused by her tone, continued speaking, unaware of the shock she had just delivered. The room began to spin. Had she buried someone else? Was Gregory alive? Until now, panic set in. Lorraine contacted Piedmont in Atlanta. She demanded answers. "You told me he died 4 days ago," she shouted. The hospital stood by their statement. She then called Chicago. "You have his ID? His records? A photo?" Chicago confirmed all of it. Same social security number, same birth date, same medical history. "He was transferred here last week," they said. Lorraine was dumbfounded. "Transferred? He died in Atlanta. We signed his death certificate. That night." She lay awake wondering, was this incompetence, fraud, or something darker? Lorraine took matters into her own hands. She requested the photo of the patient from Chicago. When the email arrived, she clicked it with shaking fingers. There on the screen was Gregory. Her Gregory, alive, or at least alive until that morning. The man in Atlanta whose body she had kissed goodbye was also Gregory Davis. But clearly, not her Gregory. A terrifying question surfaced. Whose body had they cremated? Lorraine's voice cracked as she called the Atlanta hospital again. "We cremated a man who wasn't my brother." The funeral home was alerted. The body arrived with the official death certificate and photo ID, they explained. But when Lorraine asked for the ID photo, it didn't match the man from Chicago. Somewhere, somehow, two Gregory Davises, both with the same identifying information, had crossed paths in the medical system. Or had someone switched files intentionally? Desperate, Lorraine demanded the cremated man's medical file from Atlanta. It listed high blood pressure, a recent surgery, and a different allergy profile from her brother. But everything else, social, insurance, even next of kin, matched Gregory Davis from Chicago. She knew now what she hadn't known before. Someone had stolen his identity. But who? And why? A nurse from Piedmont reached out confidentially. "I shouldn't be telling you this," she whispered. "But 3 weeks ago, we had a homeless man come in without ID. He kept muttering a name, Gregory Davis. When no one could verify his real identity, someone in administration assigned him a patient profile from the database." Lorraine's heart stopped. "They gave him my brother's identity?" The nurse didn't answer, but the silence screamed the truth. Digging deeper, Lorraine requested Gregory's full digital hospital file through a lawyer. What she found stunned her. Access logs showed 2 sets of physicians, 2 different cities, updating his records within hours of each other. Someone had copy-pasted his file into the system under a new patient ID, but left his name, birth date, and insurance information intact. It was a crude duplication, but to the bureaucratic system, there was only one Gregory Davis. That was the fatal flaw. A week later, another family came forward. A woman named Felicia Brown said her uncle had gone missing 3 months ago. He was homeless, mentally ill, and last seen near Piedmont. When she saw the cremation photo Lorraine shared, she gasped, "That's him. That's my Uncle Jimmy." Lorraine's stomach turned. They had cremated someone else's uncle. And her brother, left to die in another city, under a stolen name. The lawsuits came swiftly. Lorraine sued both hospitals for negligence, fraud, and emotional trauma. Felicia filed for wrongful death and identity mismanagement. The media caught wind. "Man dies in 2 cities." The headlines read. Experts weighed in. This is what happens when underfunded hospitals rely on outdated systems and pressure staff to fill in the blanks. But for Lorraine, no amount of legal acknowledgement could undo what had been done. Her final goodbye had been to a stranger. A cybersecurity investigator hired by Lorraine discovered that Gregory's electronic medical record had been accessed using a shared administrator login, one used by several hospital departments. It meant anyone could have duplicated his file and assigned it to the wrong patient. "It was like copying and pasting a life," he said. "Only this copy cost someone theirs." From Chicago's hospital logs, they learned Gregory had arrived confused, dehydrated, and with no idea why he had been transferred. He told staff he'd been in Atlanta but didn't understand why nobody recognized him anymore. He died 2 days after admission from a completely treatable infection. But because his files had been tampered with, key medical details were missed. The system that was supposed to save him lost him instead. Lorraine sat quietly at a memorial they held in Chicago. No ashes, no body, just a framed photo and candles. She held his favorite hat. "You weren't supposed to die alone, Gregory," she whispered. "You weren't supposed to be erased." Across town, Felicia buried a box of mementos in a cemetery plot marked James, Jimmy Brown. "We never got to say goodbye," she said, tears falling. 2 families, 1 truth, no peace. In a press interview months later, Lorraine said it plainly. "We live in a world where identities can be stolen, swapped, or deleted with a few keystrokes. But people aren't data, they're souls. And when you confuse one life with another, no one gets the ending they deserve." A new law was passed in Georgia and Illinois, requiring biometric confirmation before medical file access. Small justice. Still, Lorraine visits that Chicago hospital once a year. Just to sit, just to remember, just to say, "You mattered, Gregory," even when they forgot who you were. In a system built to save lives, even a single oversight can bury the truth. Always ask questions. Always demand answers. Because when identity becomes paperwork, humanity gets lost. Behind every chart is a person. And behind every mistake, someone pays the price. Subscribe to the White Coat Crimes for more shocking true stories, medical crimes, medical mysteries, and the dark side of healthcare you were never meant to see.